And very good morning to you. 25 to 11 133 882 is the number. We talked a little bit yesterday about this new thing called the Nationwide House Energy Rating Scheme. And it seems extraordinary to me. It seems it's a national scheme whereby a duly qualified inspector will access your property, which could well lead to a situation where landlords are going to be forced to upgrade their homes before renting them out. Now, I think, the market is to sort all that sort of stuff out. If you were wanting to live in a dog box and wanted to pay $20 a week, you could live in a dog box and pay $20 a week. The last thing I really think you need is government constantly coming into your home to tell you that they don't like the colour blue on the wall because it might make people outraged or something like that. This is the sort of stuff. Anyway, a bloke who knows all about this, and I think we're going to talk about the cut in subsidies for tradies as well, which seems extraordinary. Scott Challen from the QHI Group is the CEO, joins us. I mean, Scott, it seems like government just wants to interfere in every aspect of the building sector because, there's a housing crisis on, but they're making it worse, aren't they?
Well, they want to interfere in ways that don't really make any sense to us because, as I mentioned to you previously, we signed up a new carpentry apprentice last week. We finally got a kid to stick, and then we find out that the subsidies that we would normally get for the first 2 years on those guys at 10% of their income has been slashed to 5% as of the 1st of July 2024. Now, in the middle of a skills shortage and a housing crisis, when we're trying to get apprentices in, we lost 50,000 apprentices in the last 12 months. I was stunned when the organisation that was signing him up with us sat there and told me that, by the way, the subsidy's been cut by 50%. Now, where's the money going? Well, apparently they're directing it towards TAFE places to create TAFE training. Now, our apprentices don't go to TAFE. They use a private training organisation and do their theory work online. So that's not helping us at all.
And of course, there's this rush to free TAFE. Now, I'm a former training minister, federal training minister, so I understand this well. And I also chair a small training company. I'll put that disclosure forward.
Sure.
Nothing to do with building. It's in the automotive sector. But the point I make here is that the private trainers tend to be more agile, more capable of delivering what the bosses, the people who are putting, that person on, want, as well as what the apprentice wants. But free TAFE is all about backing up the highly unionised TAFE sector. And the cafe restaurant people told us yesterday, they said, if you get it for free, you don't really appreciate it. So free TAFE at the expense of building trades apprentices is a big issue, is a big problem.
I'm not going to get into the argument of which one creates a better tradesman. I know there's pros and cons in both areas, but from the perspective of running a small to medium enterprise, we need boots on the ground. We need guys on site. And so what we ask our apprentices to do is to do that training after hours and on wet days and days when they can't actually be on site to build. Because as you know, we lost 50 days of rain so far this year. We need guys on the ground now. So we've lost a lot of the incentive and subsidy towards getting apprentices. And then everywhere I turn, as you started the segment with, we just seem to be getting bombarded constantly with assaults on the building industry and assaults on home ownership.
Yeah, and when we say guys, gender non-specific term,
sure, of course.
Meaning people, but you can identify however you like, that's your business, but you need people on the ground. You need boots on the ground. You need people to lift things up and move things and attach things and make things solid, make things safe according to a plan. That's what building is all about, isn't it?
It certainly is. And look, we love what we do. I don't know any carpenters that don't enjoy what they do. And as a builder, I love delivering projects for people that I know are going to change people's lives. And that's the big part of the creativity inside of us as humans. Plus, we're building a better future for the whole country. So we want to get more kids into apprenticeships. We want to encourage more people to build homes. And we're forecasting that this next 12 months, we're going to build the least amount of new livable dwellings that we have in the last 10 years, the lowest number on record. And at the same time that we're forecasting this, and this is government numbers, they know it's happening. They make these big, bold claims about 1.2 million homes, and it's just not going to happen because everything is being put in our way to be able to deliver those projects.
So that's the point. The government has, media release proclamation, going to have 1 million homes by this and 1.2 million by that. they're never meeting any of those targets. 50,000 people out of the system, you're saying?
Yeah, out of 380,000 apprentices in the country, 50,000 of them quit in the last 12 months.
I mean,
it's astronomical. It's a record number. We've never shed apprenticeships like that in the country before.
and I know, because I've been to things that have told me this, so I'll accept their information, that only 3% of those who migrate to Australia bring building trades, because unions are saying we don't want to import people, we want to train them here. And you see this whole circular logic of we're only going to do it this way and it's that way and that way only. We've just got none of the dynamics we need to solve what is a massive problem, that is a shortage of places for people to call home.
The dynamics is a really important word there, because a lot of the tier one builders in the country have been sucked up into these government infrastructure projects, right? That's the big stuff. They're dealing with the union side of that constantly, and not to pick a fight with the union guys.
No, I've done that all morning. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And back in the 90s, I was a union member when I was a young builder.
Yeah.
So look, there were pros and cons to that side of stuff, and full disclosure there. But you've got these tier two builders, you've got small and medium enterprises like myself that can step up, but we're too scared to, because right now the risks that are hanging over us and the lack of trades, the lack of labour, and these constant changes in industrial relations laws, contracting, etc. for companies like mine, why would we want to take the risk? Why would we want to sign fixed home contracts right now with people?
Yeah, and the fixed home contract thing you can't deliver upon, because what you thought you could do, at one stage it used to be 3 to 6 months a home would be built. Now it's more like a year to two. That's what it feels like.
Mate, I've got
me.
14 build sites within a kilometre of where I live on the Bayside, all new homes, and all of them are around that 12-month mark. So it's pretty hard to deliver a new home under that time frame. And look, all respect to the builders that do that. There's some big project builders out there, big home builders that do deliver big numbers at volume and scale. I don't know how they do that in this labour market, especially at the rates that we're having to pay to try and attract people to compete against those government infrastructure
From my
projects.
understanding, there's a bit of a quadruple, whammy going on here. In about 45 minutes, we'll find out what the CPI numbers are, and it could mean that we'll see an interest rate rise that could come as a result. If it's 3.9 or 4, I think I heard Judith Sloan from the Australian say, then it's a problem. Inflation's higher than it should be. We'll find out soon. But so you've got the cost of money has gone up. You've got the cost of building products have gone up. You've got the cost of labour has gone up, and the cost of government red tape has gone up. And so the length of time that you're actually taking to build something's blown out, so that all the costs are just going up. That's actually a 5-point whammy. That's a quintuple.
I'm going to add another one to that, and that's
go.
the National Home Energy Rating Scheme, the
Tell us about
NatHERS that
yeah.
you've spoken about. And look, this has been rolled out in Victoria already, and it's where they are rating people's houses now based on their thermal energy efficiencies, etc. And so you are going to be put into a position where you either can't rent your house out because it doesn't meet certain Energy Star ratings, or your property will be lower valued because it doesn't meet certain requirements as well, which means when you go to sell the place, it might not be worth as much. And there'll be people out there right now that have bought lightweight homes. For example, my first home that I bought, fibro and weatherboard, a metre off the ground, that would be considered a 0-star energy rating these days. Or in the industry, they call it a lemon. It's a lemon house because it can't comply. It doesn't matter how much insulation you put into the roof. Without wall insulation, it's a 0. It's as simple as that. And unless you tear all the cladding off those walls, you are never going to be able to increase the star rating on that house.
So automatically, that impacts on people who've got established homes.
Yep.
And then, of course, people with new builds, you've
Yep.
got to choose. And I remember, it goes back to the days of Anna Bligh. I remember her. She's now in charge of the banks, but she was once the Premier of Queensland. And
She became a bankster.
yeah, she did. She became a bankster. That's a very good line. But, there was this talk back, a dozen years ago about the idea of dark-coloured roofs would be worth less because they absorb too much heat.
Well, that's exactly what we're heading towards now.
Is that it? So dark-coloured roofs are going to be worth less because they cost too much to air condition.
I jumped on the website the other day because we're in the public consultation period about this for this scheme to be rolled out nationally, and they touted Victoria as a successful rollout of this model.
Well, those people need to be reprogrammed.
And at the same time, we've seen an 8% reduction in property prices in Victoria. Now, is there correlation correlation, causation? Or, look, that's another argument, right?
No, I think there's a complete correlation there. That's the only place where the price of housing has gone down is Victoria. So off the back of this numpty scheme,
Roll out, yep.
they have actually beggared up people's housing values. The number one asset most any of us ever have is a house.
I
If
was
we're
thinking
lucky to
about
have
this.
one.
Imagine, you just scrimped and saved. You're in your 30s. You've just paid off your HECS debt. You've finally got your house deposit together. You've bought your first house. Might be a fibro and weatherboard house that was built in the 50s or 60s. And then suddenly this thing rolls out and you find out that your house has gone back in value. You might have negative equity in your home for that moment. That's scary.
It's the government.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. So
What is
this-
it with every time they stick their fingers in this stuff, things get worse?
Well, they've got to get their fingers out of my pockets. They've got to get fingers out of all of our pockets and get out of our lives because they're ruining it.
Look, this is a big one for me. The apprenticeship subsidy stuff, that caught me by surprise because we finally got a good kid on board and we want this guy to be a great carpenter and I'm sure he will be one day. But when I found out about this, the National Home Energy Rating Scheme rollout, and look, the public submission period is open right now. So I encourage anyone out there who's understanding of this, search it up online and put a submission in because this is crazy. And if we do get a change of government this year in Queensland, I would really urge the LNP to think deeply about whether we adopt this or not.
Yeah, so it's the Nationwide House Energy Rating Scheme, NATH.
ERS.
NATHERS, like as in Mathers, but with an N.
NatHERS.
NatHERS,
Yep.
okay. Or nathers.gov.au has even got a website, so it must be official.
And the website's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to read. The successful rollout of the Victorian model. I sat there and scratched my head and said, I was trying to imagine what spin doctor got paid to write this garbage.
Yeah, well, there's a few down there, I know, but none of this was on my bingo card for 2024. Scott, it's always good to talk to you, but I think I'm just feeling a little bit down in the dumps about this.
Well, every time I think we've hit the lowest point, I see something else, like the NatHERS scheme that hit my emails the other day. So look, the subsidies, it's a big one. We want to get more apprentices in, but we definitely need to be thinking about ways to increase housing, not make it more difficult.
Well, good on you. Scott Challen from the QHI Group is the CEO. He knows what he's talking about. 133 882 at 12 to 10. 12 to 11, please.
Sorry guys, rambled on a bit there.
No, mate, it was all excellent. I didn't want to stop you.